What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I realize that people get paid to write articles, and sometimes they have to write an article that seems absurd because that's how they earn their clicks. Look, some of my video titles are needlessly spicy, some might say, so I understand, a bit of a shocking title. But this article on the National Post is not just a horrible title, but it is full of hot takes like, during all 152 minutes of the film, men dominate the screen for 98% of the time. And when I say men, I mean white and straight. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, and perhaps one of the easiest ones I've ever had to do, and that's for the Ridge wallet. Now, I used to carry around the old school tri-fold wallet, jam-packed with all sorts of receipts and garbage I didn't need. And then I moved to the Ridge wallet, their front pocket style 30,000 5-star reviewed wallet. They're some of the coolest wallet designs you're ever going to see. Seriously, every time I break this thing out, people are asking me about it. Most of my family members have already moved over to the Ridge wallet. Now, it took a few days to get used to not having a billfold in my back pocket, which, by the way, helped make my back feel a ton better. And now I'm loving it. There's a lifetime warranty on them if you love it, and free returns if you don't. Below, you'll find a unique URL where you can score a 10% discount on your Ridge wallet. Great for you, or as we get closer to Christmas, a great gift idea. Pick up your Ridge wallet, save 10% today, and help support the channel. This is such an interesting take on reviewing a movie. I just don't understand. I'll never understand the minds of people that think like this or write like this. I'll never understand the people who need to check boxes to enjoy movies. It seems like a horrible way to live. It seems like you're never going to enjoy anything. And this is a relatively new way of thinking. I remember when I was young seeing Blade and how awesome the action scenes were, and the music at the time was pretty good. I bet that soundtrack sold pretty decently. And I don't remember reading things like, you need to see Blade because Wesley Snipes is black. You just didn't hear that stuff. You heard the movie was good. You didn't hear that Saving Private Ryan was too white. You just knew that it was a gritty, above standard, above average film. So where did all this come from? Well, it's been, the pearl clutching has been a thing since the beginning of time. I mean, if you read, where's that book? John Stuart Mill on Liberty, you could read and understand a lot of how these people think. The pearl clutchers have existed since the beginning of time, but since people have started to drown them out, they've started to have to write even more and more heinous takes to get anyone's attention. The movie Ford versus Ferrari seems to be universally liked, with a 92% critic rating, 98% audience score. I haven't seen it. It just didn't interest me as a film. Certainly it wasn't because they're white and men. I'll definitely watch it when I can stream it for $5 or something like that. Or if a friend of mine wants to see it, I'll go. It's just not my kind of thing. It seems like the relationship between, Damon and Bale is really great on the screen, and it's kind of got this odd couple vibe. But, I mean, why? Why would you even write this thing? Yet here it is. Ford versus Ferrari opened November 15th. Christian Bale and Matt Damon follows British racing driver Ken Mills and hot rodder Carroll Shelby as they build a special race car to help Ford Motor beat Ferrari at the 24-hour Le Mans in 1966 and 1967. The goal was to break Enzo Ferrari's stronghold on the international racing that had his Scuderia Ferrari winning everything throughout the 1960s. They strike an odd couple pair. Miles is a wiry, eccentric Brit. Shelby, a square-jawed cowboy hat-wearing Texan. Neither, much like the corporate pressure exerted by Ford chief Lee Iacocca and his marketing goons, who themselves were humiliated by Ferrari's old world gravitas after a bungled buyout attempt. And you have the necessary tension for a movie. It's beautifully shot, and that it was enjoyable for modern car buyers and enthusiasts alike. Engine revs, tires squeals, stopwatches click. But what I saw was a devastating picture of the lack of diversity that permeated the industry in the 60s. What? This is like based on a true story. These are real people. I suppose Hollywood is not above just taking, maybe making Shelby Asian or something, a black woman for modern reasons. I don't understand how you could live your life like this. Picture this. During 152 minutes of the film, which for those who love vintage racing cars will feel as good as an ice cream sundae on a Sunday afternoon. This is written by somebody who thinks they're good at writing. It's like they're pretending to be a good writer. Anyway, you can read all about that here. Men dominate the screen for 98% of the time by my unofficial count. They are in executive suites at Ford and Ferrari, in workshops, garages in Venice, on the track out in Willow Springs Raceways. And when I say men, I mean white, straight men. No faction of the storyline is devoted to parsing the thoughts and feelings of any female who appears. It's literally called Ford versus Ferrari. The character who plays Miles' wife, Molly, is presented as the doting mother. She smiles mildly and nods her head indulgently as her husband struggles to gain traction in the race world. She clucks and scolds like a schoolmarm when Miles and Shelby come to blows in the front lawn, then brings each of them a soda pop. That's the joke. That's part of the film. Like, oh, those two. Other women waft through the film like smoke. Secretaries in wood-paneled offices handling manila folders to men in navy suits, corporate wives smiling silently, always positioned one step behind their husband's shoulder, young racing fans that serve as pretty decor on racing podiums. To the victor go the spoils. The critique I heard most often about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood could easily apply here. The film is celebrating those nostalgic golden days when white men ruled. This is a heinous thing to say. It is an implication that cannot be backed by any factual evidence. The implication is that the filmmaker of this film and anyone who enjoyed the film by some level longs for the days where women were quote-unquote kept down. That is not what this movie is about. It's not what this movie was created to endorse or romanticize. This is just a lie. It's pretty to watch if you can suspend thinking for 2 hours what the world must have been like for any ambitious or creative folks who didn't fit that demographic. Yeah, I think if you go back, that women on the whole were probably were a lot happier back then too. You know, I'm not saying every woman needs to be a housewife. I think that women should do whatever makes them happy. But the notion that being a housewife is bad or something that should be looked down upon is absurd. Taking care of the home is a very fulfilling job, and it was something that was looked upon fondly in the 50s and 60s. So sure, you ended up with fewer female executives because they were at home doing the important work, you know, keeping the family together, raising the kids to be future leaders and things like that. But no, ma woman. The central message of Ford versus Ferrari, that the answer to the question, who are you, is really what matters in life, is delivered in the beginning, middle, and end of the film by Shelby. The biggest problem is that Carroll Shelby, the man who was responsible for turning the Ford Mustang into the epitome of American muscle, occupies a godlike status in car culture and embodied everything the red-blooded American male of the era was supposed to hold supreme. He wasn't he is held in that regards, not because he's a man, but because of what he produced. You get that, right? Some of it was admirable. A former chicken farmer from Texas who pulled himself by his own proverbial bootstraps. Shelby wore overalls when he raced and built his own cars with Ford Tough V8 engines. He beat the Europeans at their own game of the Le Mans. In later years, he established a charity that would help provide organ transplants for children. What a monster. Most of it was not. Shelby was a notorious womanizer who blew through 6 marriages and was headed towards divorce from the 7th when he passed. He spoke to everyone with language so blue it was legendary. Ask any car journalist or professional driver who knew him. And they've got plenty of descriptive words to describe he treated anyone with an earshot. Many of those were unprintable here. Well, maybe that's because he was a car dude and not a faux celebrity. He didn't care about that kind of stuff. He was too busy doing what he was passionate about. And by the way, nowadays, a man goes through multiple marriages and you call him a womanizer. If a woman does it, you call her stunning and brave. Just to point that out. It gets worse. One of his former press assistants, Angelica Smith, sued Shelby for bad behavior in 2011. The suit included information about an alleged situation that happened at Shelby's home with one of his employees, that she was fired partly in retaliation after she reported it. Shelby called the allegations wild and fantastical at the time. He died less than a year later. Well, it was never proven, right? We know from modern day, people can say all sorts of things. Now, I don't know that it happened or it didn't happen, but all I know is that it was never proven. So there's that. It's no surprise to survey this patriarchal wasteland, but no less depressing to see it nonetheless. The epic portrayed remains uncomfortably close to how the car world is today. We still have to look hard to find women of consequence. Well, you looked hard and then you made all those grid girls lose their jobs, people like you. The women that loved that job, the F1 racing grid girls that you got that faux outrage from overweight wine moms got fired. Those there were some women making a difference in the car racing world, but they can't just do something they enjoy. They have to do something they have to live up to your standard. 6 of GM's 11 global board members are women, an admirable percentage, but the numbers are worse elsewhere. At Toyota, 13% of board members are women. Again, none of this matters. This, again, operating on the fallacy that there's some correct amount of women or correct amount of whatever people in any room. The only thing that matters is what's up here, and that has no color. That has no gender, all right? So if I'm assembling a team and I need 10 people, I need 10 of the best people, it might be that all 10 are women. It might be that all 10 are men. I don't care. You hire the best person for the job. The worst thing that ever happened in innovation are quotas. All right. And this idea that there's a correct percentage of a certain type of person on a team. In a vacuum, yeah, that's great when everybody's all the same, but that's not how reality exists. The idea that there's 2 identical candidates is a fallacy. It's never been true. The fact that you might think you have 2 identical candidates, so you're going to pick one based on skin color, is stupid. You're not doing your business any favors. You're not doing the other people that work there that need your business to succeed to do any favors. It's all around a terrible hiring practice. And this is what that kind of stuff is built on. Ridiculous percentages that are lauded as good or bad. None of it matters. This isn't good enough. Today, car companies face difficult questions about brand identity and mobility concepts they've never had to contemplate before now. They are evaluating who they are, and that's the question again. In a world increasingly oriented towards mobile rather than mechanical transport, electric motors rather than V8 engines, Ford versus Ferrari puts a stark relief on the stunted mentality of the previous generations. Yeah. Tell me again. Box office, Ford versus Ferrari is the hit Fox and Disney both needed. In a daily weekday update, Ford versus Ferrari earned another $4 million on Tuesday, which is a solid jump of 57% since Monday. Even accounting for, quote, cheap ticket Tuesday, this is a decent showing for a 2.5-hour movie, mostly aimed at adults. James Mangold period piece race drama has now earned $37 million in 5 days of domestic release and around $65 million worldwide. Even with Walt Disney's own Frozen 2 roaring into theaters tomorrow night, Ford vs. Ferrari is likely to leg it out into next month. The reviews of Christian Bale and Matt Damon movie have been mostly positive, and the film snagged a rare A+ cinema score grade. I would imagine that Disney is hoping it'll be providing for both the 4-quadrant mega smash of the adult skewing counter programming. It feels a bit optimistic, but I would argue that successes like Ford vs. Ferrari, which is well on its way to recouping its $98 million budget, is exactly why Disney initially considered buying Fox in the first place. Yet, yes, it was all about the eventual streaming library for Disney Plus and Hulu, but in terms of theatrical potential, Fox has a long history of making, quote, big movies for adults that succeed concurrently with more conventional kid-targeted fantasy actioners. Have a nice day, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.